There is a very cliched saying that if you give me 6 hours to cut a tree, I'll spend 4 hours on sharpening my axe. Now, this cliched saying actually tells you the importance of a plan. As they say, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Hello everyone, my name is Anchit Garg. I'm co-founder of EduTap, and in today's video, I'm going to discuss with you a very comprehensive day-wise plan, 4-month plan for SEBI Grade A preparation. Now, the question that might be coming to your mind is why a 4th-month plan? We are expecting SEBI notification to be somewhere in December, though we do not have any concrete information regarding that, but that is the best news that we are having right now. So based upon that, we are expecting exam to be held somewhere, say in Jan or in Feb, right? So based upon that, I'm presenting you 4-month study plan for SEBI Grade A, and this is going to be a very comprehensive discussion, very comprehensive plan. I'm going to discuss in and out about SEBI Grade A preparation. So please with me for the next 40 minutes. The video might be longer, but it will give you a lot of direction. It will give you a lot of wise information which can save you hundreds of hours. So let's start. So first of all, before I start, I want to discuss with you some of the common mistakes which candidates had made in the past or candidates generally do make while preparing for SEBI Grade A. The first mistake that they do make is overcommitment or complete negligence of phase 1 paper 1. Now we all know in phase 1 there is paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 2 is anyways important because it is also part of your phase 2 preparation, but some people either overcommit in their preparation, overcommit themselves in their preparation for paper 1, or they completely neglect it. Both the scenarios are not wise scenarios. You need to have a balanced approach. Second most common mistake that people generally do is leaving numerical part for costing and commerce and accounts. Now it has been known now for us that no, SEBI Grade A paper 2 contained a lot of numerical. So now if you leave numerical and prepare for commerce and accounts and costing, I think that would be simply catastrophic. So please don't do that. Last year there wasn't much information available, so people do make that mistake, but you please do not repeat that mistake. Then the next mistake which generally people make is focusing on current affairs for paper 2. Yes, current affairs are very important for your RBI Grade B examination, but the scheme of SEBI Grade A is not much in favor of current affairs. If you see the syllabus, there is not much scope of current affairs in paper 2, except maybe 1 or 2 questions in finance. But again, I would say that current affairs should be last thing on your priority for paper 2. Yes, for phase 1, paper 1, anyways, you need to cover them as part of GA. Then starting multiple subjects in one go. Now, SEBI Grade A really becomes overwhelming when we see a lot of subjects: costing, company law, finance, accounts, economics, management, and then quant, reasoning, English for paper 1. So sometimes it really becomes kind of a bogged down situation for us where we are not able to decide what should we do, what should we not do, and we tend to start multiple subjects in one go, which actually kills the productivity. So never ever start multiple subjects. Always start with maximum of 2 subjects at a time. That is what I'm going to discuss in my plan also. Not revising regularly is another big mistake because the syllabus is so huge. If you will not revise on regular basis, you will tend to forget. And more than forgetting, I think you will tend to lose that confidence. So revise regularly is the mantra. Non-simulating or not simulating the real-time exam environment. Now guys, again, this is very important to understand. I keep saying it again and again. It's not about IQ, it's also about your EQ. When you are preparing for exam like SEBI, you might be preparing for 300 hours, 400 hours, but in exam you will just get 40 minutes, right? Those 40 minutes hold the key. So you need to understand that it's not only about your preparation, it's also about how do you handle the emotions, how do you handle the pressure in the exam. That can be best understood by simulating the real-time exam environment again and again and again so that you become habitual to that. At least if if not at the same level, obviously real exam will always have separate kind of nervous energy inside you, but at least if you keep simulating again and again, the pressure in the real exam will be less. Not analyzing syllabus in previous year papers, this is another mistake which people do. Now we have full-fledged papers, right, for the exam conducted in 2020. So you shall be analyzing the previous year papers very closely, see till what depth the questions have been asked, what kind of topics have been given importance. That becomes really important for you. Focusing on some chapters, important chapters. Now, I don't know from where it has emerged, but a lot of people are of the view that they want to focus on certain important chapters only, and by doing that, they want to clear the exam. Now, I think that approach can work only if you are really knowledgeable. You know all the basics. You have been preparing for these exams for last 2 to 3 years. But if you are starting from scratch, you don't have much knowledge about the basics and all, then I think focusing on some important chapters, just focusing on some important chapters is not going to help you to get through to the final list. ये आपको डिसाइड करना है कि आपको प्रिपेयर करना है सिर्फ टाइम पास के लिए या एक सीट लेने के लिए. अगर वो सीट लेने के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं तो by just focusing on so-called important chapters as per you, I think that is not going to help. Even if you want to do that, that is a last minute strategy for people who are starting late, because they would be putting in just 30 to 40 days of effort. For them, it's okay. If you are going to put in 100, 120, 150 days of effort, you cannot just focus on important chapters. Now, let's proceed with the actual agenda. Let's try to discuss the plan, 4-month study plan. So first I'll discuss the phase 2 prep. Right, so when I discuss the phase 2 prep, I will be discussing about paper 2 and descriptive English. And when I discuss paper 2 here, the paper 2 preparation for phase 1 part will also get covered there, because the syllabus is same. You need the same kind of preparation. So let's discuss with phase 2 prep. So this is the overall plan. What I feel is perfectly executable by everyone, even the working candidates. Yes, if you are non-working, you will get even more time. Now, what is the plan? So basically what I feel is doable, I have tried to segregate as per that. First 25 to 30 days we focus on management, costing and descriptive English, and sectional mock test anyways you will be giving in every phase. Then next 30 days we need to focus on finance, company law, and we shall also be revising 1 hour daily. What shall be revising? What we studied here: management, costing, descriptive English. So this will help you not to forget what you have actually read before, because I receive a lot of calls and emails where people tell us that no, they are not able to remember what they studied last month. So I think this is the best strategy. At least devote 1 hour daily on your revision. That will keep you in touch with the previous subjects. The next 40 days we shall be focusing on accounts, economics, again 1 hour revision. Right now this revision will be for finance, company law, right, and sectional mock test anyways, and this is rest time. Doesn't mean rest time, it is the remaining time, you can say that. So here again revision, lot of sectional mock test and lot of FLTs. Every Sunday we shall be focusing on FLTs. So overall you can see around 30 plus 30, 60 plus 40, right, that becomes around 100. So that is almost like 3 months plus 10 days. So the remaining 20 days, if you're going for 40 days plan, would be your revision time and your practice time on the full length mock test. I'm making certain assumptions that even if you're a working candidate, right, you can spend 5 hours on weekdays. That would be 5 into 5, that is 25 hours from Monday to Friday, and 8 hours on weekends, that is 2 into 8, that is 16 hours. So close to 40 hours you need to spend in a week. Now this 40 hours can be 35 hours also, this can be 42 hours or 42 hours also. That depends. There is no hard and fast rule, right? And even the plan I am going to study, you need to customize a bit as per your timings and your needs. But overall, this is my assumption. Sometime here and there, if say on weekdays you are able to spend just 4 hours, not 5 hours, you need to compensate on you need to compensate that on weekends. Or say if you are able to just spend 3 hours on weekdays, then maybe sometime you can compensate on weekends, or maybe you can be more efficient in the weekdays itself, so that what is meant to be done in 5 hours, you can do at least 75-80% of that in 3 hours. So that depends upon your ability, your needs. You need to customize that. And the plan I'm going to discuss here, right, I will be discussing the breakup of this plan in detail, on which day what to do, is taking into account a lot of things. First is, it is based upon art of doing limited things, because when we do limited things, we can focus better, we can retain better, and it gives us a lot of confidence when we are able to finish some things. So we will always be doing limited things in this plan. As you can see, I've segregated them in phases, so that you never feel that now you are bogged down by huge number of subjects. Continuous revision. So in between the components itself, when I discuss with you the plan for each component, I will be giving you some days for revision. But apart from that, you can see even across components or across phases, we are revising what we studied in old phase. So here, when we are pursuing finance and company law, we are revising management and costing. Here, when we are studying accounts and economics, we are revising finance and company law. So that is, we are focusing on continuous revision, so that we always feel that we are in touch. Then balanced approach. This is very, very important. You should not try to pick two difficult things at one point in time. So here I have tried to segregate subjects, as in one which is numerical based, one which is not numerical based. So here costing is numerical based, management is not numerical based. Finance is numerical based, company law is not numerical based. Finance, I mean, a part of it is numerical based. Then accounts is numerical based, economics is not numerical based. So I have tried to take a balanced approach. Now, depending upon your strengths and weaknesses, if you are, say, from commerce background, you are really good in accounts and costing, then obviously it becomes easier for you at the first step itself. Then you can again customize it. And regular test. It is very, very important for us to evaluate ourselves at regular intervals to gauge that whatever we are studying, are we studying it from right angle, right perspective? Are we able to understand it? Are we able to apply it? So there would be regular tests in this plan. So let's go to the detailed plan now, right? So what shall we be doing? How shall we be using these first 25 to 30 days in which we want to do management and costing? So for the first 12 days, we will be doing management for 4 hours a day. For the next 15 days, we shall be doing costing for 4 hours a day. So around 27 days, we shall be finishing management, costing and descriptive English. How? For first 12 days, management 4 hours a day, next 15 days, costing 4 hours a day, and every day in this 27 days, you shall be doing descriptive English 1 hour per day. This is the overall plan for this first phase, you can say, of your preparation, or whatever you want to say. Now, coming to the management specifically, how we are going to utilize those 12 days. So this is the day-wise plan, right? I'm not going to read every line here that on first day you will do this, second day you will do this. You can pause the video, you can note it down, whatever you want to do. So this is the day-wise plan I'm giving you for finishing of the chapters. The important thing to see here is that I am giving you some days to revise, right? So these are the revision days where you will be reading what you have done earlier. So there is continuous revision happening in between the component also. So that will help you to be more confident about what you are studying, and multiple revisions will help you retain things better. So this is the overall plan. The only tip that I want to give you, that in case you feel that you are not able to cover, sometimes it happens, right? There are all kinds of people. Some are really fast, some are really slow. To speed up, right, in case you are feeling that you are not able to catch up, to speed up, what you can do is you can read notes, right, and you can skip videos. That is the thing that can help you cover fast in case you are feeling that you are not able to catch up with these with this plan, as in on what day you need to do what. If you are not able to match to this, maybe this is the cheat code I would say you can use, because in management, even through notes, you will be able to understand better. Though obviously videos will give you advantage, but then I mean we can't achieve the best of all the worlds, right? We need to compromise somewhere. So this is the cheat trick. And in management, apart from that study plan, how to read, first thing I would like to say is that please remember that management is the most scoring and the easiest portion of your whole syllabus. At least it is the easiest. It might not be scoring if the questions are really tricky, but most of the times people tend to score good in management. So therefore, do not leave anything in the syllabus of management. Even if you want to leave anything, just leave the communication models. There are communication models in your course that you can leave. If you're doing self-communication, then self-preparation, then do not read the communication models at all. Right. Then one thing I want to assure you why I am focusing too much on covering management very comprehensively, very thoroughly, because in my past experience of 5 years, what I have seen is that all the management questions most of the times have been from the course material. So I get that confidence to say you that if you prepare management at a comprehensive level, you will definitely score good if you have your concepts right. Right. And read very thoroughly. I've seen people doing some silly mistakes. For example, in Maslow hierarchy, where we have 5 needs, a question was asked, which of the following is a need in the Maslow hierarchy? And the options were physiological, physical, psychological, something like this. And many of the people did it wrong. I don't know why, but they knew the understanding of Maslow hierarchy, but they were really confused about the name, that whether it is physiological, physical, psychological, what it is, and they marked it wrong. So please do not just read, understand every keyword. Understand every keyword. That is very important to you. That why this is called physiological. If you try to understand is physiological, it relates to word physical. Physical means our physical body. So physiological needs are hunger, thirst, food, right? All these are physical needs. So that's why this lowest level is called physiological. So if you try to understand it from end-to-end perspective, then obviously you will never get your questions wrong. So that is about management. Nothing much to say more on this. Very scoring section. That is the only thing I would say. Next we come to the costing. So now we would be spending say another 13 to 27, another 14-15 days on costing to cover this. Now how to cover the costing, again the day-wise plan is given here. I will not be repeating. Even the revision days are there in between for you to revise the content whatever you have read. But some important points that I want to make, guys, is these chapters, not this one, material cost, labor cost and overhead cost. Now these chapters are not in your syllabus if you see, but these are the chapters that you will find in every standard book, in every good course. Because you can't understand costing if you do not understand material cost, labor cost and overhead cost. I think only a foolish student or a foolish teacher will take that approach where they will not do material cost, labor cost and overhead cost. You cannot do costing without that. It would be just equivalent to cramming things. So these chapters, even though they are not in the syllabus, you need to do them. These will set the base for further chapters, right? And once you have understood these chapters, the rest of the chapters will become definitely easier for you. Please remember that. Right. Apart from that, activity-based costing, this is in your course and in almost all the standard books. This you can leave for now. This is not in syllabus and is not that important. Then these chapters, output costing, job costing, contract costing, they are relatively easier. But this chapter, process costing, this is a really tough chapter. You will feel the pain when you do this chapter. Process costing is a bit complicated chapter. But trust me, once you will do this chapter, you will gain that confidence, right? When I'm saying it is tough and you are able to do, it will boost your confidence. These two chapters are also easy chapters, and this is the very important part of your syllabus. Marginal costing, standard costing, budget and budgetary control. These are the chapters from where majority of the numericals are asked. Marginal, standard, budget and budgetary control and process costing. These are the 4 chapters from where majority of the numerical are asked, right? So these are very important from numerical point of view. And the last chapter, lean system and innovation. This is a big chapter. There are around 8 videos, but again, this is plain theoretical. You can even read this chapter by not reading any other part of costing. You can even directly jump to this chapter. It is that theoretical chapter and that easy chapter, right? Again, in costing, if you're finding it difficult to match to this speed, then what you can do is you can leave the lengthy numerical. I'm not asking you to leave all the numerical. I'm just asking you to leave the lengthy numerical. After every concept, there would be say 3 to 4 short numerical that you must do. That will help you set the base and that will help you solve the numerical in the exam. But lengthy numerical, say big cost sheets, big concepts, that you can leave in case you are not able to manage within this time, because again, you can't get best of all the worlds. You need to decide. So priority should be covering the syllabus and filtering out the things which are not that important. So that is about costing. Regarding costing, how to proceed, I have already told you. Numericals आपको करने ही करने हैं. Marginal costing, standard costing and process costing, and even budget and budgetary control are really important for costing. Lean system and innovation is one such chapter that is plain theoretical and has no relation with the earlier chapters. Even if you have not studied any part of costing, you have just one day to study costing, at least read this chapter, right? I mean, I'm just telling you the best bet, though just reading one chapter will not help you clear the exam. But we shall always be over optimistic, right? when we are preparing for such exams. So if you have just one day, read this chapter at the start itself. Next is descriptive English, which I told you we shall be doing 1 hour daily for entire 27 days in this phase. Now, how to do descriptive English, that we have discussed multiple times. That first we need to learn the technicalities of descriptive English, as in how to write a good body, how to write a good introduction, what are the necessary elements that you must write in essay, what is the difference between précis and a summary, should there be a title for a précis, how should we write the answers to the comprehension, should we write in points, should we write in paragraph. All these technicalities you must know. All the formats you must know. Once you have done this, from wherever you do this, in case you are doing self-preparation, there is a lot of material on YouTube to learn the technicalities of essay writing, précis writing and comprehension. In case you are preparing from the course, there are 5, 6, 7, 8, around 7, 8 videos on this from which you can prepare these technicalities. Once you have prepared the technicalities, one way to look at it is your preparation is over. But descriptive English is one such subject. Here, till the time you apply those rules, you keep writing, you will not be an expert in that area. So what to do? So I would suggest we need to write regularly. For that, what we can do is you read editorials from newspaper. Which newspaper you can use? Hindu, you can use business newspaper like LiveMint, whatever. I don't care. The more important matter is to read an editorial on daily basis. After you have read an editorial, you need to type it. Do not write it using pen. You need to type it. Your exam is online. Where you need to type it? In a notepad, not in a Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word has auto correction feature, which will auto correct your spelling and grammatical mistakes, and you will never get to know that what kind of shitty mistakes you are making. So always type it in a notepad, right? And always type after a gap of 3 days. Say you have read an editorial on Monday, then type it on Thursday or Friday. You have read an editorial on Tuesday, type that on Saturday. You have read an editorial on Wednesday, type that on Sunday. There should always be a gap of 2-3 days. Otherwise, what happens is we are not typing it, we are just vomiting it in the exact sentences, in the exact format what we have read in editorial. I don't want you to do that. What I want you to do that is to type in your own words, in your own understanding. Be expressive in your own way. That is the key, right? तो ये हमें करना है, ठीक है? And always write within a time limit. Initially, maybe to get the flow, you can write without the time limit, but say after 10-12 days, I would suggest to write within a time limit and a word limit. So essay, I think 60 minutes are given for 3 questions. So essay you will get around 25 minutes, précis around 20 minutes. And essay word limit keeps on varying. You should try essays with 250 word limit, 300 word limit, 350 word limit. Keep varying the word limit. Precis word limit is somewhere around 150 to 200. So you can keep varying your word limits in your different attempts. That will again make you habitual to adapt to different word limits. Right. And after you have written this, the last point, which is very important, is to copy whatever you have written from a notepad on grammarly.com. You can even paste it in the Word. Your spelling and grammatical mistakes will get highlighted, and you will yourself know that what kind of silly mistakes we have been making. We never realize that, right? I know many people who cannot even write the spelling of miscellaneous, right? So in exam, we tend to use that word multiple times while writing. So that is the point I am making. ठीक है. और अगर आपको भी miscellaneous के spelling नहीं आते हैं तो आप प्लीज कमेंट करके बताइए कि आपको नहीं आते और आज आपने ये स्पेलिंग अच्छे से सीख लिए हैं. ये डिस्क्रिप्टिव इंग्लिश का हो गया. आई होप यू आर एबल टू गेट दिस राइट. नेक्स्ट पार्ट इज सेक्शनल मॉक टेस्ट. Sectional mock test is basically I'm talking about chapter wise quizzes. So after every chapter there are quizzes, or even in case you are doing a self preparation, you should have some quizzes at your disposal chapter wise that you should be attempting after finishing that chapter, right? Now the most common mistake that people do while attempting quizzes is as soon as they finish the chapter they go to the quiz, right? Again, it might help you to check your concepts, but it will never help you to check your retention power, whatever you remember, whatever you have forgotten. So here my suggestion is that never attempt the mock test immediately after you have read the chapter, finished the chapter. Take a gap of at least 7 days. So maybe you can attempt the quizzes on the weekend for the chapters that you have read in that week, or maybe on the revision days after revising the chapters, you can attempt the quizzes. That depends upon you, but never attempt immediately after reading a chapter. After revising, yes you can, but not reading, because revision is like checking whatever you have forgotten. You will quickly take a recap of that even before exam day, right? You will do that. So after revision you can do, but not after the first reading or the second reading. Whatever you're doing, do not attempt the quizzes immediately. And after you have attempted a quiz, it's very important to analyze your mock test. Many people come to us and they say that in spite of reading everything very comprehensively, understanding everything, they are not able to get good marks in the quiz. The answer is try to analyze what kind of mistakes are you doing. Most of the time your mistakes can be characterized into 3 parts or 3 ways. Silly mistakes, for example, in the question it was written which of the following is not part of Indian Constitution, and you miss the word not, and therefore you mark the right question. That's the most silly mistake people do. If you do that kind of mistakes, slap yourself 10 times. Seriously, I mean, you can't afford to do such silly mistakes in a competitive exam like SEBI Grade A. Then the second type of questions which they found they have done wrong is that something they have read but they did not remember at the time of attempting that quiz. So something got erased from your permanent memory, but if you would have remembered, you would have handled that question. This is also a common problem. Yes, acceptable that you have forgotten something, so you need to revise again and again. And once you found in a quiz that you are not able to remember something which you have read, then you will never forget, because through that question which you have done wrong, you will always remember now that, okay, this was the right number, this was the right fact. So quizzes are in fact good way to retain things which we are not able to retain otherwise. Third one can be conceptual mistake, that your concept itself is wrong, or the question was that tough that your concept is right, but the options were really confusing. So that is okay. Here you can't do much. Need to read it again, get your concepts right, and maybe if that kind of question comes in any future exam, you will be able to handle it. But the first two mistakes here, silly mistakes or mistakes due to forgetting the facts or the data, I don't think that we can survive with. We need to avoid them completely. Over a period of time, you should be taking those kind of mistakes to complete 0 level. Since SEBI, you mark one question wrong, it is not only you are losing 2 marks, you are also going into a negative territory. So it's almost like 0.66 or 0.5 marks you will lose. So I think that is a crime to not remember something what you have already read. So where you could have easily got 2 marks, you are losing 2.5 marks. Right. So this is about how to go about sectional mock test. Now moving on to the next part, I will be a little bit quicker now. I think I'm going slow. So for the next 30 days, we shall be doing finance and company law, and we shall be revising management and costing 1 hour per day. So first 18 days we shall be doing finance 4 hours a day, and the last 12 days we shall be doing company law 4 hours a day. And each day 1 hour we shall be revising. What we shall be revising? We shall be revising management, costing, and at times we can also attempt descriptive English, precis and essays. Right? Now let's move on to covering finance in 18 days. Now, if somebody has already read finance as part of RBI Grade B or some other exam preparation, then this is going to be a cakewalk. You need not spend 18 days. Maybe you can complete this even in 10 days and spend rest of the time on another subject, that is company law here. But anyways, in finance, again, for each chapter I have mentioned on what day you need to complete it. So in first 21 days, we finish with this part. From the 28th day, we are starting with finance, time value of money. This chapter again is not directly in your syllabus, but this sets the base. I mean, I can't imagine studying finance, at least chapters like bonds or something, if you don't understand the basics of finance like compounding, discounting, present value, future value. So these are the must, right? So here you will be discussing about time value of money, then bonds, important, futures and forwards, very important again. Now options again is not part of your syllabus, but when word derivatives is mentioned in the syllabus, I mean options is such an extrinsic part of derivatives that you cannot afford to leave options, and there have been questions in the exam from options. Then revision day, then primary and secondary markets, equity markets and primary and secondary markets, debt markets, very, 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 very important, I would say. In most of the years, there have been questions from this in RBI and SEBI. Equity valuation, you can leave. This is a bit a numerical oriented chapter. You can leave for now. In case you get time at the end, you can go through this. Mutual funds again is not in syllabus, but there have been questions in the exam on mutual funds related to NAV, systematic investment plan. So again, this is very much related to other parts of your syllabus. So I think you must go through mutual funds, though mainly at the basic level. Then financial inclusion using technology, basic theory, alternate sources of finance, PPP, basic theory, forex markets, easy, fiscal policy, monetary policy, and RBI functions. This is very, very important for your exam. You might have studied as part of economics while preparing for RBI. If not, you need to cover this very comprehensively here. Then changing landscape in banking sector, financial institutions like SIDBI, Exim, NABARD, SEBI, again basic theory. These are all theoretical chapters. FRB and Finance Commission, these are also important. Right. Income statement, balance sheet and cash flow ratios. We normally teach these chapters as part of finance while we teach students for RBI. But here, since accounts, the syllabus for commerce and accounts also has income statement, balance sheet, cash flow and ratios, we shall be covering these chapters as part of accounts. So I will be telling you to cover these chapters as part of accounts when I discuss when I'm going to discuss the schedule for commerce and accounts. Right. So this is the day-wise schedule. You can see, you can note it down, right? Or anyways, you can watch this video anytime. Now, apart from that, one cheat code that I want to tell here is that in case again here you are finding it difficult to match this speed here, right? What you can do is that for these yellow marked chapters, mutual funds, financial inclusion, alternate sources of finance, changing landscape, financial institution and banking and financial system in India, you can skip the videos and read the notes directly. That is the only cheat code I would suggest in finance in case you are not able to match up your speed with this schedule. Right. And overall in finance, I would say in primary and secondary markets, instruments like T-bills, commercial bills, CDs are very, very important. You might not be able to understand this right now, but when you read these chapters, you will get to know that there are a lot of instruments, repo instruments, T-bills, certificate of deposits, which are anyways important for you. Current affairs in finance, I think the only scope of current affairs in paper 2 is finance. Otherwise in economics, costing, management, I don't think there is much scope of current affairs. So if you have time, maybe you can read some general current affairs related to RBI notifications or some notifications by SEBI, but again this should be taken low on priority. The first priority should be to cover the static part, because there is very less probability that current affairs would be asked in your paper 2. Then for numerical, the chapters like bonds, derivatives, and primary and secondary markets, equity markets are important. These 3 areas are important from numerical point of view. Apart from that, yes, numericals are many a times asked from ratios also, but as I told you, ratios we would be discussing as part of commerce and account syllabus. So this is about finance, guys. Coming to the company law. So again, what I would say is that these are the chapters and the days on which you need to do, right? Overall, you will get around 12 days to complete the company law, which is manageable. In company law also, the cheat code that I want to tell you is, first is that in your course, there are 3 chapters given: accounts of company, remuneration of manager personnel, and basics of company act. These are given at the end of company law, right? Now these are the chapters that you can leave in case you are not having time, right? I have not added them in the schedule because otherwise you will not be able to complete the whole syllabus within these 3 to 4 months. So in your first iteration, you can leave these chapters. Later, if you get time, you can go through these. We have included them because we think that they in a way are very important chapters or sections of company law which can be asked even if they are not in syllabus. But then for you, it should be the last priority. Do not take them on the first priority. That is the wrong thing many of the students do, right? Another cheat code that can be used in a company law, for many of the chapters you can try going through the PDFs itself, right? Company law is a very theoretical chapter. Maybe through the PDFs also you can understand the concepts. Wherever you are not able to understand, you can just watch the video of that portion and then continue going through the PDFs. So that is another cheat code you can use in case you are not able to match to this schedule. Now in company law, how to proceed, as in the approach. First is facts are important. Section numbers, wherever you find number of days, years, penalty amounts, these become very, very important. Anyways, company law is all about factual subject. So all the facts are important. The next thing is definitions. In the previous year papers, the definition of private company has been asked, right? So definitions, wherever you find in the course. In the course, if we are discussing something about private companies, there we will define what a private company means. If we are discussing about, say, small undertakings or large undertakings, there we will define what small undertaking or a large undertaking mean. So wherever there is a definition of something, while you are reading any chapter, please do it very carefully. Definitions are very, very important. Section numbers. Now this is a very, very important question. Do we need to remember section numbers? The answer is yes and no. Yes for important section numbers, no for other section numbers, and it is really impossible to remember all the section numbers. I mean, that's a lot of effort which we can afford to not make. So important section numbers. Now what defines an important section number? See, a section number which gives some powers to some entity, specifically to SEBI. So if there is some section which is giving a power to SEBI to appoint somebody, to remove somebody, or to do anything, that section number anyways is important for you. I'll give you an example of a previous year question that has been asked. Which section of the Companies Act gives power to SEBI to issue capital and transfer of shares? Now here power is given to SEBI to do something, to issue capital and transfer of shares. Therefore, this section number becomes important, right? Answer is anyway section 24. So these kind of section numbers which are defining powers of some entity, especially SEBI, becomes really, really important. This next part I would be discussing in next slide here. So next is concept based, or even the concept based name is wrong. I would say anything related to where some power is given to somebody to remove somebody, to appoint somebody, to make some amendment. So any power given to any entity, you need to remember that in that case, which entity is having the power. I'll give you an example. It will become clear with the example, guys. So here actually the question is, it's not visible, I'll read it out. The auditor can be removed before expiry of his term by which of the following? So the question is that who can remove or who has the power to remove the auditor before his expiry, before his term ends? The answer is shareholder. It is very clearly given in the company law that shareholders has the power to remove the auditor before the expiry. So why this question becomes difficult in the exam? It is very clearly mentioned, you have very clearly understood. The reason is because there are different scenarios. In some scenarios, shareholders will have the power. In some scenarios, say to remove an auditor, shareholder is having a power. To remove a cost accountant, board of directors might have the power. To appoint an additional director, central government might have the power. So there are a lot of scenarios in which different entities are having powers, right? So when in an exam the question is asked, it really becomes confusing that okay, in this case which entity has the power? Is it shareholders? Is it board of directors? Is it central government? So you get confused. So it is very important when you are reading wherever it is mentioned that some entity has power to remove, appoint, make amendments, issue something, please note it down clearly that this is the scenario, this is the power, and this entity has the power. Similarly, another question was on the same lines. Reduction of share capital can be done with the approval of, the answer was special resolution. So these kind of questions are very, very common, not only in SEBI but many other exams. So that was about company law. Regarding sectional test, the same theory that I discussed earlier, give it on weekends or give it after revision and analyze them properly, right? And this I've already discussed. This revision of 1 hour should be of management and costing during these 30 days. Now next we come to discuss the plan of next 40 days. So we are on final part of our preparation. Here we need to cover accounts and economics. Now these 40 days are going to be most challenging for you. Accounts is a subject which is not easy, but definitely it is doable. But you have to accept that challenge, and accounts is a very logical subject. If you understand that, you may not be even required to revise it. In this plan, majority of the time out of these 40 days we shall be spending on accounts. 26 days we shall be spending on accounts. Last 14 days we shall be spending on economics. Again 4 hours a day here, 4 hours a day here, right? And here we need to revise, that is this revision of 1 hour daily shall be given to finance and to company law, right? Now let us discuss accounts in detail. So these are the chapter of accounts, right? Again you can see I have mapped the days on which you need to do, right? But I'll not spell out these days on which day you need to do what. You can easily see that. I'll give you some important points that you need to follow. First of all, there are first 5-6 chapters: Introduction to Accountancy, Theory Base of Accountancy, Recording Transactions Part 1, Recording Transactions Part 2, Trial Balance, and Bills of Exchange. These are around 5-6 chapters, right? Or Bills of Exchange anyways is here, Bills of Exchange. Now these are 5-6 chapters which are again not given in your syllabus, but these are very, very core to accounts. You cannot study commerce and accounts if you do not understand these 5 basic chapters or these 6 basic chapters. This again will set the base for further chapters. I'll repeat the same thing. No foolish teacher or no foolish student will skip this chapter. Or did I say it wrong? What I meant to say is that a serious aspirant will always do these chapters. These are very, very important. Very, very important for your preparation. Right. So never ever think of skipping these chapters. If you skip these chapters, if you try to move ahead, you will not understand anything. तो ये तो हमें करने ही करने हैं. Even if you want to leave, just leave this one. Recording transactions, I have written it, you can leave it here because this contains some extra information which is not useful to understand the further chapters. But बाकी chapters आपको करने हैं. ठीक है? Apart from that, this anyways, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow and ratios, those who have studied finance as part of RBI, they might be knowing it, otherwise you can do it here. Now this chapter, accounting for share capital, this is bit tough. You will feel the pain, but anyways you need to manage it. There have been questions from this chapter. After that, accounting of bonus shares, ESOPs, buyback of shares, these are easy. These are easy, except ESOP. where there can be some difficulty, but I would suggest you to cover only the basics first 2-3 videos and skip the rest. That would be sufficient for you. Now coming on to the last part, or the second last part, then you need to study the accounting standards. Now there are 5 accounting standards given in your syllabus: inventory, revenue recognition, foreign transactions, property, plant and equipment, and investment. All these are, I would say, equally important, but this one, the property, plant and equipment, this is the most important accounting standard from which questions are asked in most of the exams. So you cannot afford to skip this, right? So even if you are not doing anything, you just have one day to cover accounts, I would say cover these first 6 chapters and then read this chapter. There is definitely going to be a question in the exam from this chapter. And in your syllabus there is a mention of accounting standard for depreciation. Actually that has been removed now, and accounting standard for depreciation has been merged here. So regarding depreciation also you will read in this accounting standard itself, right? Then final company accounts, which again is a lengthy chapter, right? I've given you 2 days for this, but this is just like a revision of what you would have studied earlier in finance and accounts. So it might take you time, but it won't be that difficult for you. These are easy chapters: financial statement, financial analysis, and accounting and financial information system. These are easy chapters. So overall in accounts, I've told you what sets the base, what is not in syllabus, what still you need to do, what is tough here. This chapter is tough here, you need to manage, right? And overall you can't do accounts without numerical. Debit, credit, accounts, you need to understand. You cannot afford to do accounts without that, right? So that is what I'm supposed to say to you again. Basic debit and credit entry, you need to understand. Some people do think that debit and credit entry are numerical. They are not numerical, they are part of theory itself. And even if they would have been numerical as per you, you need to do numerical. तो ये तो आपको करना ही करना है, ठीक है? For example, there was a question asked, profit on forfeiture of shares after reissue is transferred to what? To what account? You need to understand debit and credit, right? Then only you can answer this question. The answer was capital reserve, right? Next, numerical are important. I've told you, focus on basic numerical. No need to do lengthy or complex numerical. Basic is enough for you. Accounts is a logical subject. If you do it with patience, if you understand it to the core, you will never ever be in need of even revising it. And whether Ind AS are important. Now Ind AS are new accounting standards as per new guidelines, but in most of the exams which have accounts as their syllabus, Ind AS is not being asked. Even in SEBI previous year papers, Ind AS has not been asked, right? So though we have covered Ind AS in these chapters, right, in these accounting standard chapters, though we have Ind AS at a very basic level that you can do, but we have also not covered Ind AS in depth, and we don't intend to cover, and therefore we also suggest you do not run behind Ind AS accounting standards, right? Last part is economics. So first is demand and supply and elasticity of demand, easy. Then there are some chapters which are not part of syllabus. Again, theory of consumer behavior, production function, cost analysis, and revenue of the firm. These chapters are not in your syllabus, but you need to learn the basics of these chapters, because only then you will be able to understand the below chapters which are related to market structures. That is perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. The graphs and the concepts that you need to understand, these chapters will come from these chapters. So just cover the basics here, maybe no need to go into detail, just go through them quickly and then move on to these chapters, right? The next part in economics, this is tough for many people, I can vouch for that, but you need to manage that. The idea is to cover the basic concepts. Even if you are not able to understand something complex, that's okay. At least after reading them, the benchmark should be that you should be able to do previous year questions. So classical and Keynesian approach, consumption function, investment function, multiplier and accelerator, these are tough chapters if we try to study them in depth. So the key would be to concentrate on the basics. This can be done. This is again bit tough, right? But I think this is one part where you will gain knowledge, where you need to challenge yourself that I need to do this part. Otherwise, whatever other part of economics, inflation, balance of payment, foreign exchange, monetary policy, fiscal policy, NBFC, this is easy, and you would have also studied this as part of your preparation for other exams, right? But this is tough. This is where you shall be focusing on to cover the basics. Do not lose hope. You will be able to manage. The cheat code, in case you want to cover economics quickly, I think the only cheat code is that within these chapters which are tough for you, you can just concentrate on the basics. Try to do the previous year questions after studying that chapter. If you're able to do, just move ahead. Do not try to go too much into depth. Right. So in economics, as I said, questions were easy. So topics are though tough, those 5-6 topics, but manage it from a different perspective and do not leave any chapter. I've seen people leaving these 5-6 chapters, but my point is, if you leave these 5-6 chapters, then what is left in economics is something which everybody is doing. What are you doing extra to make the difference? These are these chapters. So that was about this plan, accounts and economics. Revision, I've already told you. Here in revision, you would be revising finance and company law, and sectional mock test you shall be giving with the same philosophy that we have discussed earlier. Now rest. Now this is rest of the time. This is not rest time that we are giving you to take rest. No, this is remaining time or rest of the time. So let's discuss what we need to do here. So basically this part, which most probably be around 20 days, right? If all goes well as we see. So in these 20 days, you need to revise 3-4 chapters per day. And remember, revision is not just looking through very casually. You need to read it thoroughly. At least, I mean, wherever you feel that you are not able to recollect what was taught here, you need to read it comprehensively again. Right. Give sectional test. Whatever chapters you are revising, you should give sectional test. Now you would have already given sectional test once in these three stages, right? So now you can have some additional sectional test. You can have it as part of SEBI 5000 MCQ course, where again chapter wise tests are there, which are different from what is given in the main course, or you can enroll from any other third party. That's your decision, but my point is, do as many sectional tests as you can. I mean, it's really important for you. FLTs every Sunday, very, very important. Again, hours of preparation, but only 40 minutes to define your destiny. So it's very important to do as many FLTs, full length tests in a real-time environment. And whenever you are giving FLTs, it should be like it is your final exam. So please follow that advice. Analyze the test properly, right? And after you have done the revision, say for a whole month, and you have revised everything, then I think the set of FLTs that you would be giving in the last 2-3 weeks or whatever time is there, I mean, that should be like के ये मेरा एग्जाम है, इसको फोड़ना है और मुझे आज सेबी में सिलेक्शन लेना है. ठीक है, इसको आप you can't take them lightly. The final 2-3 mock tests, it should be like life and death kind of thing for you. Some other important points, ठीक है, do previous year questions after each chapter, guys. It is very, very important because it not only gives you confidence, it also kinds of vindicates your preparation that you are going on the right track. And go through syllabus again and again. Your mentors might be telling you 100 things, but you yourself, when you see the syllabus, you will feel that you are able to understand things better. You are able to realize that what is important and what is not, what you can leave and what you need to focus on. So read syllabus again and again. The previous year questions and the syllabus should be like a print in your mind, should be like an image in your mind. After a certain point in time, you will leave seeing them again because they are already in your memory. So that was about phase 2 prep. Now coming on to the phase 1 prep, guys, right? So first of all, phase 1 paper 2, as I already told you, is discussed as part of our discussion for phase 2, all those 6 subjects. So we are only left with phase 1 paper 1, which is about quant, reasoning, GA and English. Right. And one more point that I want to make is that this is qualifying. This is not something which is kind of a merit section. So we need to have a balanced approach where we are not giving a lot of time to this, that we are kind of compromising on our paper 2 preparation. At the same time, we are not neglecting it, that we are scoring 80 in paper 1 and we are not able to score, we are scoring 80 in paper 2 and we are not able to score 30 in paper 1. So there needs to be a very balanced approach that will also depend upon your level of comfort in quant, reasoning and English. If you are good in quant, reasoning and English, then I think you will be able to score at least 20 marks, rest 10 you can score in GA. If you're really bad in quant, reasoning and English, then you need to focus more on GA. You need to score at least 15 plus in GA out of 20. So these kind of permutations and combinations you need to make. Overall, I would say that during each stage of your preparation, you can pick one subject. Say during first 30 days, you can pick up quant. Do not do it on daily basis because we already have a lot of things to do on daily basis. But at the fag end of the every week on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, you need to take out some time for these phase 1 subjects. So maybe during this phase you do quant, during these 30 days you do reasoning, on Friday, Saturday and Sunday during these 40 days you start doing GA, right? And English anyways, I think it's more or less based upon practice. Now at this stage of your career, I mean it's very hard to make much progress in English. ठीक है, तो यही एक बेस्ट तरीका है क्वांट रीजनिंग इंग्लिश करने का. वी नीड नॉट गो फॉर अ फुल फ्लेज्ड प्रिपरेशन वेयर वी आर डूइंग चैप्टर वाइज प्रिपरेशन फॉर each subject. No. So for quant you need to define some areas where you feel you are good. You need to practice a lot of questions. Whatever concepts you are feeling you are not able to get them right, read them, but do not try to do end-to-end preparation. Or if you want to do that, you need to start early, maybe have 6-7 months at your disposal, right? बहुत सारे सेक्शनल टेस्ट और मॉक टेस्ट करने हमें. वी नीड टू डू लॉट ऑफ देम, स्पेशली सिंस वी आर नॉट डूइंग अ फुल फ्लेजेड प्रिपरेशन. वी नीड टू डू लॉट ऑफ सेक्शनल टेस्ट एंड मॉक टेस्ट. Do not go for shortcuts. I mean, the questions are not of SSC level, they are a bit complex, so you can't assume that everything would be solvable by shortcut methods. And GA, I think 3 months is a must. If you get time, go for 6 months, or if you are weak in quant, reasoning and English, go for 6 months, but 3 months is really you should be focusing on, and your target should be at least 12 to 15 marks here, right? So that's it, guys. That's about the 4-month study plan of SEBI Grade A. I hope I have been able to tell you everything, what sequence to follow, how much time to give to each component, on what day to read, what is important, what is not important, what is tough, what is easy, what you can leave. So I have tried to be very thorough in this session. Do watch this video again and again. Do refer this video again and again when you are preparing for SEBI Grade A. There are a lot of pointers in this video that will help you to prepare wisely, that will help you to save a lot of time in your preparation, and it will give you a directed approach. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.